So this is for the Creative Tech class. We were talking about surfaces for your birdhouses. So although this is a glass of water, it hits upon a lot of the principles of movement and gradations that I think might help you, okay? Because I think the curves will probably be the hardest. Um, so I'm doing a glass of water because it's transparent and the water itself is like another object within the object. And it's best to think of it that way. Like think about that water as a solid cylinder inside the cylinder. Okay, and it's also transparent, but it's a great way to think about it, and you can see what happens when water is also incorporated. So I'm going to let this loop and talk. So if you're working in a white space, you are going to want to lay down a value in order to get your whites to feel very bright. So when I laid down the tone first, it's because my brights are only going to feel white when they're surrounded by value. And since I knew there were glares on the glass, the first thing I wanted to do was get all of the white of the page gone. And then I'm going to build up the value, and then when I erase, it actually feels bright because everything around it is darker. So I'll let this play again. Same as everything we do, right? Like I'm looking for ellipses. Within ellipses, if you notice the way I treat the water in the glass, that I treat that material like it is an object that has its own core shadow and core highlight. And what I want you to notice is that when you're creating these shifts around cylinders or spheres or ribbons, everything tends to work in oppositions and opposites. So when I first established the glass, the top of the water is actually dark and the bottom of the glass is light. So the first thing I do is establish that big pattern. Dark top of the cylinder, bottom is bright. So right about after I do the lip, yep, there I do the whole top of the water is dark and the bottom is lighter. And then I just go through what I call the ribbons. So here on the edge of the glass, I start looking for shifts in dark to light. And the edge of the glass has a really dark edge here, but as it rolls back, it lessens and softens, and then it gains momentum again and darkens. Once I found that, I could see this space between the top of the water and the side of the glass, this area right here. That ribbon that's the back of the glass is going to work in opposition to the edge of the glass. That's why I started with the edge. So when I see this dark edge, I know that the next rhythm or the next gradation is actually going to be kind of light. So right here is a nice dark. So this ribbon back here goes light to dark. And then the edge of the glass goes light next to that dark, light to dark. So after I do light to dark here, and then I do it again on this one, but this one goes light to dark, generally speaking. Right there is that big move. I'm basically doing core shadow to core highlight. And then the top of the glass of the water, it shifts against that, okay? So over here is light, so this ribbon starts a little darker and moves even darker here. And then the top of the glass water, it moves in opposition again. So whatever you found last, usually you start with the opposite in the next sequence. So here, when I'm doing the glass, I'm looking for the big core shadow. So over here's the core shadow, and it moves to the core highlight. But you have to always know what it is that you're drawing. Are you doing the water? Are you doing the glass? Are you doing the back of the glass? Are you doing the front of the glass? But every one of those moves are part of larger patterns. And you need to know if what you're doing is volume, shadow to highlight, or sometimes like up here when I'm doing detailing, that's just texture that I'm seeing in the glass. And that is different. So I do textures at the end after I got my gradations done, after I look for those big patterns of moving from light to dark, okay? So you sometimes are doing value pattern, sometimes you're doing gradations, and sometimes you're doing textures. But I never do all of them at the same time, and that's the key. You need to always understand what it is that you're working on. Am I creating the volume of the glass? Am I creating the texture of the glass? Am I in the front or am I on the back? And as long as you continually look for opposing gradations, even if it's not right, meaning it's not what you see, the eye will really accept it because of that, I think it's subconscious awareness that that's the way that light works. Okay? And at the end, you'll notice I get my eraser out after I've really established a lot of value, and I've really toned up. I'm probably using an HB here and maybe a B. That's when I get the eraser out and pull those tones back, because now I have lots of darks around them so they shine better. So don't start with your eraser too quick, because it won't have enough contrast. It really works much better about midway in your drawing if you're trying to do glass. I hope that helped. I can talk to you again independently if you want. But like I said, the best thing you can do are look for these large patterns of gradations. If you see a dark, try to connect it to how it moves from dark to light. If you see a bright, first of all, identify if that bright's a part of a volume or texture. If it's part of a volume, it's part of a gradation somewhere. Somewhere it moves from light to dark. Okay.